At 3:47 inches the morning, I heard glass shattering downstairs. My stepdaughter was screaming at the top of her lungs, cursing my name like I was the devil himself. What she didn't know was that I had installed security cameras 2 days before, and what those cameras captured that night would destroy her perfect little scheme forever. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this nightmare began. My name is Eleanor. I'm 67 years old, and I live in a beautiful craftsman home in Portland, Oregon. My late husband Frank built this house with his own hands 42 years ago. Every beam, every tile, every inch of this place holds his memory. He passed away 3 years ago from a heart attack, sudden and cruel, leaving me alone in our 4-bedroom sanctuary. Frank had a daughter from his first marriage. Her name is Victoria. She was 14 when I married her father, and from day one, she made it clear that I was the enemy. She blamed me for her parents' divorce, even though Frank and her mother had separated 2 years before we even met. For 28 years, I tried everything to win her over. Birthday gifts she never acknowledged. Christmas dinners she skipped. Graduation celebrations she refused to attend if I was there. Frank always defended me, always stood by my side. But it broke his heart to see his daughter so full of resentment. When Frank died, Victoria didn't come to the funeral. She sent flowers with a card that simply said, "Rest in peace, Dad." No condolences to me. No acknowledgement that I had been her father's wife for nearly 3 decades. I made peace with it. Some wounds never heal, and I accepted that Victoria would never see me as family. Then, 8 months ago, my phone rang. "Eleanor, it's Victoria." Her voice sounded different, softer, almost vulnerable. "Victoria, this is unexpected. I know we haven't talked in, well, a long time, but I need to see you. Can I come over, please?" That please caught me off guard. In 28 years, I had never heard Victoria say please to me. "Of course." "When?" She arrived 2 hours later with her husband Derek and their twin daughters, Madison and Olivia, both 16 years old. I had only met the girls twice in their lives, both times at family gatherings where Victoria had ignored me completely. But that day, everything was different. "Eleanor," Victoria said, her eyes glistening with tears, "I owe you an apology, a huge apology." I stood frozen in my doorway, unsure if this was real. "I spent my whole life hating you for something that wasn't your fault. Dad loved you. He was happy with you. And I was too stubborn, too angry, to see it." She wiped her cheeks. "I'm so sorry. For everything." Derek stepped forward. He was a tall man with graying temples and an expensive watch. "My wife has been carrying this guilt for years, Eleanor. When Frank passed, it broke something in her. She realized she wasted so much time on anger when she could have had a relationship with her father, with you." The twins stood behind their parents, looking awkward and uncomfortable. "Can we start over?" Victoria asked. "I know it's a lot to ask, but I want my daughters to know their grandmother, their step-grandmother," she corrected herself. "I want them to know you." Something melted inside my chest. After all those years of rejection, here was Victoria, offering an olive branch. How could I say no? "Of course," I said, opening my arms. "Of course we can start over." Victoria hugged me. It was the first time she had ever embraced me voluntarily. I should have noticed how stiff it felt. I should have noticed how her eyes darted around my house, scanning, calculating. But I was too blinded by hope. Over the next few weeks, Victoria and her family visited regularly. Derek was charming, always complimenting my cooking, always offering to help with yard work. The twins warmed up to me slowly. Madison was the quieter one, always on her phone. Olivia was more outgoing, asking me questions about Frank, about my life, about the house. One Sunday afternoon, Victoria sat me down in the living room. "Eleanor, I need to tell you something." She took a deep breath. "We're in trouble. Financial trouble." "What kind of trouble?" "Derek lost his job 6 months ago. The tech company he worked for went under. We've been living off savings. But," she paused, "we're about to lose our house." "Oh, honey." I reached for her hand. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Pride, I guess." Derek looked down at his feet. "I didn't want to admit that I failed my family." "You didn't fail anyone. These things happen." Victoria squeezed my hand. Eleanor, I hate to ask this, but could we stay here? Just for a few months? Until Derek finds a new job? We'll be out of your hair before you know it. I looked around my empty house. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, just me, rattling around in all this space. Of course you can stay. This house is too big for one person anyway. It'll be nice to have family here. Victoria's face lit up. Really? You mean it? Absolutely. Frank would have wanted me to help his daughter. That night, I went to bed feeling something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Purpose, connection, family. I was such a fool. They moved in the following weekend. Derek rented a moving truck, and I was surprised by how much stuff they brought. Furniture, boxes, artwork. It looked like they were moving in permanently, not temporarily. We just want to be comfortable, Victoria explained. And some of this stuff is too valuable to leave in storage. I helped them settle in. Derek took the guest room on the first floor, which I thought was strange since Victoria and the girls were upstairs. He said he snored too loudly and didn't want to disturb anyone. I should have questioned it. I should have questioned everything. The first month was pleasant enough. We ate dinners together. The girls did their homework at my kitchen table. Victoria helped me in the garden. Derek spent his days on his laptop, supposedly job hunting. But small things started to bother me. One morning, I came downstairs to find that my grandmother's rocking chair was gone from the living room. Where's the rocking chair? I asked Victoria. Oh, that old thing? It was falling apart, Eleanor. I put it in the garage. It was my grandmother's. Victoria sighed with that particular kind of patience you reserve for difficult children. Eleanor, it was a safety hazard. What if one of the girls sat in it and got hurt? I went to the garage. The chair was there, shoved in a corner behind boxes. The wood was worn, yes, but it wasn't falling apart. That chair had held 4 generations of women in my family. I brought it back inside. Victoria didn't say anything, but I saw the look she exchanged with Derek. Annoyance, frustration. 2 weeks later, I found my collection of Hummel figurines packed away in a cardboard box in the basement. Those figurines were cluttering the mantel, Victoria explained. I needed space for family photos. The mantel was now covered with pictures of Victoria, Derek, and the twins. Not a single photo of Frank. I unpacked the figurines and put them back. Eleanor, Victoria said, her voice tight. We're trying to make this house feel like home for everyone. Would it kill you to compromise? This is my home, I said quietly. It's been my home for 42 years. Something flickered in her eyes. Something cold. Of course it is, she said sweetly. I'm sorry. I got carried away, but she didn't stop. Over the next few weeks, my things kept disappearing. Frank's golf trophies, my mother's quilt, a painting we bought on our honeymoon in Italy. Each time I asked, Victoria had an explanation. Too old, too dusty, didn't match the decor. I started feeling like a stranger in my own house. Then came the money. It was a Tuesday evening, about 2 months after they moved in. Victoria sat next to me on the couch with tears streaming down her face. Eleanor, I don't know what to do. Madison needs surgery. My heart dropped. Surgery? What's wrong? She has a tumor in her spine. The doctors say if we don't operate soon, she could be paralyzed. Oh my God. I grabbed her hands. What can I do? How can I help? The surgery costs $85,000. Our insurance won't cover it because of some pre-existing condition nonsense, she sobbed. I can't let my daughter become paralyzed. I can't. I didn't hesitate. I had savings, money that Frank and I had put away over decades. I'll pay for it. Victoria looked up, her eyes wide. You would do that? She's your daughter. She's Frank's granddaughter. Of course I'll help. The next day, I withdrew $85,000 from my savings and handed it to Victoria in a cashier's check. God bless you, Eleanor. She hugged me tightly. You saved my daughter's life. Madison had her surgery 2 weeks later. At least, that's what Victoria told me. I offered to go to the hospital, to be there for support, but Victoria said the doctors only allowed immediate family. She was recovering at home within a few days. No bandages, no visible scars, no physical therapy. When I asked about it, Victoria explained that it was minimally invasive, a miracle of modern medicine. I wanted to believe her. A month later, I ran into my neighbor Connie at the grocery store. Eleanor, how are you? How's your family? Good, good. My stepdaughter and her family are staying with me. Connie's face changed. Oh, I know. I saw the new car in your driveway. Very fancy. Is that Derek's new car? I went home and looked in the garage. There, next to my 10-year-old Honda, sat a brand new BMW SUV. Price tag? At least $60,000. That night at dinner? I asked casually. Derek, is that your car in the garage? The BMW? He didn't even flinch. Yeah, I got a great deal on it. Lease special. A lease special. While he was supposedly unemployed. While I had just given them $85,000 for surgery. I smiled and said nothing. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. I started paying attention. Derek wasn't job hunting. He spent his days playing video games and watching sports. When Victoria thought I wasn't looking, she talked on the phone in hushed, excited tones about vacation plans, Caribbean cruises, European trips. Madison, who had supposedly just had spinal surgery, went jogging every morning. No limp, no pain, no restrictions. And then I found the receipt. It was in Victoria's jacket pocket. She had left it hanging in the hallway. And as I was straightening up, a piece of paper fell out. Monte Vista Cosmetic Surgery Center. Full mummy makeover. $72,000. The date on the receipt was 1 week after I gave Victoria the money for Madison's surgery. I sat down on the hallway floor, my legs suddenly unable to support me. There was no tumor. There was no surgery. Victoria had used $85,000 of my money to get plastic surgery. I wanted to confront her immediately. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw them all out of my house. But something stopped me. If I confronted her now, what would happen? She would deny it. Derek would back her up. The twins would look at me with those innocent eyes. And somehow, I would end up being the villain. No. I needed to be smart. I put the receipt back in her pocket. I went to my room, and I started to plan. The next morning, I called my oldest friend, my lawyer, David Chen. I had known David for 30 years. He had helped Frank and me with our will, with our estate planning, with everything. Eleanor, what's going on? David asked when I showed up at his office unannounced. I told him everything. The moving in, the disappearing belongings, the money, the receipt. David's face grew darker with every word. Eleanor, this is financial elder abuse. It's a crime. She's Frank's daughter. She's family. Family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't lie to you. He leaned forward. What do you want to do? I want them out of my house. But I need proof. Real proof that they planned this. David nodded. Then we need to be strategic. Do you have any recordings? Any documentation? No. Then we need to get some. He wrote something on a notepad. I'm going to recommend a security company. They install hidden cameras, very discreet. And I want you to start keeping a journal. Every lie, every manipulation, every item that goes missing. Write it all down with dates and times. What about my house? Can they try to take it? They might try, but we can protect it. We can put it in a trust. Make it legally untouchable. Do it. That week, while Victoria and Derek took the girls shopping, I had security cameras installed throughout my house. In the living room, in the kitchen, in the hallways, even in the garage. The feeds went directly to my phone. I also started my journal. Every conversation, every suspicious behavior, everything went in that notebook. And then, 3 nights later, I got exactly what I needed. It was 11:47 p.m. I was in bed, scrolling through my phone, when the motion alert from the living room camera went off. Victoria and Derek were sitting on my couch, drinking wine from my crystal glasses. She's more stubborn than I expected, Victoria said. Give it time. Derek swirled his wine. We've only been here 3 months. We need at least 6 more to make this work. 6 months? I don't want to spend 6 more months pretending to like her. You want the house or not? My blood ran cold. Of course I want it. That's why we're doing this. Victoria laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. This place is worth at least $2 million, maybe more with the Portland market. We sell it, We're set for life. What about her? Where does she go? Victoria shrugged. Some retirement home. I don't care. She's not my real mother. She's just the woman who stole my dad. She didn't steal your dad. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Whose side are you on? Yours, babe. Always yours. Derek leaned over and kissed her. But we need to be patient. A few more months. We convince her she's getting too old to live alone. We get her to sign the house over for her own protection. And then we quietly shuffle her off to some facility. And the money? Victoria smiled. By then, we'll have access to all her accounts. That surgery scam worked perfectly. She didn't even question it. She's too trusting. It's almost sad. They both laughed. Almost. I watched that video 17 times that night. Each time, I felt another piece of my heart harden. Another piece of the naive Eleanor die. By morning, I was someone else. I downloaded the video and sent it to David. He called me within the hour. Eleanor, this is gold. With this recording and the documentation we have, we can destroy them legally. Good. What's next? First, we finalize the trust. Your house will be completely protected. Second, we prepare eviction papers. And third, he paused, I think we should involve Detective Morrison. Detective Morrison? She specializes in elder abuse cases. What your stepdaughter did with the surgery money is fraud. It's criminal. I want them out of my house, David. I want my life back. But I also want them to pay. They will. Trust me, Eleanor. They will. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the perfect fool. I smiled at Victoria. I thanked Derek for fixing my leaky faucet, something that had never actually been broken. I hugged the twins and told them how happy I was to have family in my house, all while the cameras recorded everything, all while David prepared the legal paperwork, all while Detective Morrison built her case. And then came the night of the confrontation. It was a Thursday, around 7 p.m. Victoria and Derek had gone out to dinner, leaving the twins at home with me. I ordered pizza for the girls and waited. At 11:30, I heard their car pull into the driveway. I heard the front door open, then close. I heard Victoria laugh at something Derek said, and then I heard the crash. Victoria was in the living room, staring at the empty space where my grandmother's rocking chair used to be. Except now, the chair was gone. I had moved it myself earlier that day. Where's the chair? She asked Derek. I don't know. Maybe the old woman finally threw it out. They started walking toward the kitchen, and that's when they saw me. I was sitting at the kitchen table with David on my right and Detective Morrison on my left. On the table were printed screenshots from the security footage, copies of the fraudulent surgery receipt, and a thick stack of legal documents. Good evening, Victoria, I said calmly. Please, sit down. Her face went white, then red, then white again. Eleanor, what is this? Who are these people? This is David Chen, my attorney. And this is Detective Morrison from the Portland Police Department. They have some things to discuss with you. Derek tried to be charming. Ladies, gentlemen, I'm sure this is all a misunderstanding. Detective Morrison didn't smile. Mr. Harrison, please sit down. They sat. David slid a document across the table. This is a cease and desist order. As of this moment, you are no longer welcome in Mrs. Walker's home. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. Victoria laughed, but it came out shaky. You can't kick us out. We live here. You are guests, David said coldly. Guests who have overstayed their welcome. Guests who have committed fraud, theft, and elder abuse. Elder abuse? Victoria stood up. I have never abused anyone. Detective Morrison spoke for the first time. Ma'am, we have video evidence of you and your husband discussing plans to defraud Mrs. Walker of her home and assets. We have financial records showing that you obtained $85,000 through a fabricated medical emergency. And we have documentation of multiple instances of property theft. Those are lies. I took out my phone and pressed play. Victoria's own voice filled the kitchen. This place is worth at least $2 million, maybe more with the Portland market. We sell it. We're set for life. She's not my real mother. She's just the woman who stole my dad. Victoria's face crumpled. She sank back into her chair. Derek, ever the survivor, tried to negotiate. Look, maybe we can work something out. We'll leave quietly. No fuss. No lawsuits. David shook his head. It's too late for that. Mrs. Walker has decided to pursue both civil and criminal charges. Criminal charges? Victoria's voice was a whisper. Fraud, Detective Morrison said. Grand theft. Elder abuse. You're looking at significant prison time, Mrs. Harrison. Victoria turned to me with tears streaming down her face. Eleanor, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was desperate. Derek convinced me to do this. It was all his idea. I never wanted to hurt you. Derek's head snapped toward her. What? This was your plan from the beginning. You're the one who said your father owed you. You suggested it. And just like that, they turned on each other. Screaming, blaming, pointing fingers. 28 years of pretending to be a united front, shattered in seconds. I watched them destroy each other. And I felt nothing. No, that's not true. I felt free. Enough, Detective Morrison said firmly. You'll have plenty of time to sort out who's responsible. Right now, I need both of you to come with me to the station. You're arresting us? Derek looked genuinely shocked. I'm taking you in for questioning. Whether you get arrested depends on how cooperative you are. As Detective Morrison led them out, Victoria stopped at the door and looked back at me. I really did hate you, she said. For my whole life, I hated you. But you know what? You're exactly what I thought you were. A cold, heartless woman who cared more about things than people. I stood up and walked toward her. For the first time in 28 years, I didn't feel the need to appease her, to accommodate her, to win her approval. I cared about you, Victoria. I tried for nearly 30 years to build a relationship with you. I opened my home to you. I gave you money I couldn't afford to lose, and you repaid me with lies, theft, and contempt. I leaned in close. Your father would be ashamed of you. Her face twisted with rage, but before she could respond, Detective Morrison guided her out the door. David stayed to help me clean up and secure the house. How do you feel? He asked. Tired, I admitted, but also, too relieved. Like a weight I didn't know I was carrying has been lifted. You did the right thing, Eleanor. Frank would be proud. I looked around my kitchen, my home, my life. Everything was still here. The Hummel figurines were back on the mantel. Frank's golf trophies were in the den. My mother's quilt was folded on the couch. They tried to erase me, I said softly. They tried to erase everything that made this house mine, but they failed. Yes, I smiled. They failed. The twins were confused and scared when they found out their parents had been taken for questioning. I sat them down and explained, as gently as I could, what had happened. Olivia cried. Madison just stared at the floor. Did Mum really do all that? Olivia asked. I'm afraid so, honey. What's going to happen to us? I looked at these two girls, 16 years old, caught in the middle of their parents' greed. They were innocent. They hadn't chosen this. You can stay here tonight, I said. Tomorrow, we'll figure out what comes next. They slept in the guest room, and I stayed up all night, thinking about Frank, about Victoria, about the family I had wanted so badly and the nightmare it had become. The next few months were difficult. Victoria and Derek were charged with fraud and elder abuse. Derek took a plea deal and testified against Victoria, claiming she had masterminded the entire scheme. Victoria was sentenced to 18 months in prison. I never got my $85,000 back. They had spent it all, on the plastic surgery, on the BMW, on restaurant dinners and shopping sprees, and a lifestyle they hadn't earned. But I kept my house. I kept my memories. I kept my dignity. The twins went to live with their paternal grandmother in Seattle. We stay in touch. Olivia calls me every few weeks, just to check in. Madison is slower to warm up, but she sent me a card on my birthday. Dear Eleanor, it said, I'm sorry for what my parents did. You didn't deserve any of it. I hope someday I can be the kind of person who makes things right instead of making them worse. Love, Madison. I cried when I read it. Not tears of sadness, but tears of hope. Last week, I was sitting on my grandmother's rocking chair, the one Victoria had tried to throw away. The autumn leaves were falling outside, painting my yard in shades of gold and red. My neighbor Connie stopped by with fresh-baked cookies. How are you doing, Eleanor? I'm good, I said. And I meant it. I'm really good. She sat down next to me. You know, when they first moved in, I had a bad feeling. Something about the way that woman looked at your house, like she was measuring it for curtains. I laughed. You should have warned me. Would you have listened? I thought about it. Probably not. I wanted so badly to believe that Victoria had changed, that we could finally be a family. And now? Now I know the truth. Family isn't about blood or marriage certificates. Family is about respect, trust, and love. Real love. Not the kind that comes with conditions and hidden agendas. Connie squeezed my hand. Frank was a lucky man to have you. I looked at my house, my sanctuary, my fortress. I was lucky to have him, I said. And I'm lucky to have this. All of this. After Connie left, I stayed on the porch, rocking gently in my grandmother's chair. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. I thought about Victoria, sitting in a prison cell somewhere, probably still blaming everyone but herself. I thought about Derek, starting over alone, his dreams of easy money shattered. I thought about the twins, trying to build new lives from the wreckage of their parents' choices. And I thought about me, 67 years old, alone, but not lonely, not anymore. Because I learned something in those terrible months. I learned that kindness is not weakness. I learned that trust should be earned, not given freely. And I learned that it's never too late to stand up for yourself, even against people who are supposed to love you, especially against people who are supposed to love you. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, if there's someone in your life who's slowly erasing you, who's taking more than they give, who makes you feel like a stranger in your own home, please hear me. You deserve better. You deserve respect. You deserve to be seen, to be valued, to be loved for who you are. Don't wait as long as I did. Don't give them chance after chance while they whittle you down to nothing. Trust your instincts. Protect yourself. Fight back. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can save you is you, and you are worth saving. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched your heart, let me know in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, no matter how old you are, no matter how alone you feel, you have the strength to reclaim your life. I did. And so can you.